I fixed Minecraft. That's a big claim, but it is one that I believe I can say. Over my last 3 videos, I have discussed many of the issues surrounding the survival aspect of survival Minecraft. Some of these issues came from mechanics being outdated or unbalanced due to the addition of newer mechanics and how they interact with the existing ones. Some came from a place of ignorance or lack of understanding as to how to fully implement it, or how it would affect the game long term, while other issues came from elsewhere. But not only did I talk about the issues, but solutions too. Solutions that would help mesh the game into a more cohesive experience, buffing and nerfing the parts of the game that need it in a way that not only keeps the enjoyment players get from using them, but also expands the creativity the player can have with all of these mechanics, as this newfound balance opens up a plethora of pathways for the player to choose from, rather than being forced into the so-called meta. But back then, I merely discussed these ideas. Today, I present to you the first full release of the fixed Minecraft mod, so that you too can play Minecraft again, but better. This is not a mod that attempts to improve performance or increase visual fidelity through the use of shaders, animations, or the like. This mod is not about adding quality of life features or large structures, 7 new dimensions, hundreds of new blocks, and many other things that make Minecraft no longer feel vanilla. This mod intends to dig a bit deeper, to take on all the existing mechanics in the game and address their biggest concerns by tweaking them just enough to be the best possible versions of themselves. This is a quality of game mod. I have designed this mod to be built upon the vanilla experience, and for that reason I cannot guarantee its balance or perhaps even its compatibility with other game-changing mods. While I have tried to limit new additions to necessary extensions of these tweaks, on the flip side, one rule I set for myself was that I was not to remove anything either. Many have asked that there will be toggles to enable or disable certain parts of the mod, and although I have added some basic game rules, in most cases it isn't necessarily feasible to do so due to the nature of this mod changing many of the fundamental and more importantly interlocking base systems, so disabling one part will affect another. If you would like to use this mod, the download is in the description. It is a Fabric mod and requires the Fabric API and the Kotlin language mod. It is currently only for 1.20.4, but I'll speak more about that at the end. If you wish to play this on multiplayer, then both the server and all the players will need to have the mod for the game to function properly. Although I have talked about the changes I would make in the past 3 videos, I'm sure many of you have not remembered every change I suggested, and some may have not even watched all 3 videos. More importantly, either after more discussion, playtesting, or for some other reasons, not everything I said matches with what made it into the final version of the mod. So the rest of this video will be the full list of changes to quickly get you up to speed on what this mod changes, so you can get the most out of every fix. If you want the explanations, go watch the other videos. By far the most important system overhaul award has to go to the Enchanting system, and for good reason too. All items now have an enchant capacity, which you can see by placing it into an anvil, and all enchantments have an enchant power based on their level, the max level of that enchant, and if it is a treasure enchant. The capacity of the item is based on the percentage of the sum total of enchants that item can have, capped at 50 levels. When you add enchants via the anvil, you can see how much of capacity that enchant will take up, and the experience cost is the sum total of enchants on the output item, with a minimum of 1 for renaming items, repairing items with no enchants, or items with curses which have a negative enchant power. If you try to create or repair an item that is over-enchanted, that is, over its capacity, the bar will show red, indicating that you must use the new netherite anvil, crafted with a normal anvil, netherite block, and a netherite upgrade template in the smithing table, which now shows the bar as blue to indicate that you can craft it. However, the netherite anvil will not be able to have mending on the output item. The chance for the netherite anvil to be damaged is 0 if the item is under capacity, meaning it is a direct upgrade for normal use. Then it is the amount of levels over capacity the item is plus 5%, in addition to another 10% if the item has a super enchant indicated by having a special green glint. Super enchants are exclusive to loot and are a level above their traditional max value, and like over enchanted gear, cannot be used in the normal anvil. You can no longer combine the enchants of different tools together. However, I have removed many of the mutually exclusive restrictions like Infinity and Mending, but some like Silk Touch and Fortune I have not, as they actually conflict with each other. As you can now wear multiple protection types, normal protection is now effectively melee protection. However, the other types of protection can reach 100% immunity if you have at least 13 points across your armor. Thorns has had a slight balance rework. Bane of Arthropods has been renamed to Bane of Invertebrate, as it now also affects Creepers, Slimes, Magma Cubes, Guardians, Shulkers, Blazers, and will do the Breeze in the later update. Riptide has been buffed to work better underwater. Impaling affects mobs in water or rain. Both now work when standing in a lingering water effect cloud, and Loyalty Tridents now return from the void. Repairing netherite gear now only requires scraps, and you can now repair tridents with prismarine shards. The enchanting table will only provide one enchant by itself, the level of that enchant based on the total number of bookshelves surrounding the table, up to the current max of 15. Then, for each bookshelf, the table would check a random block surrounding the table. If it is a chiseled bookshelf, it will check a random slot. If it is an enchanted book, it will randomly choose one of the valid enchants to copy to the item. If no chiseled bookshelf, enchanted book, or valid enchants are found, the check fails and we move on to the next bookshelf. The high failure rate will encourage having multiple copies of each enchant around the table to have a high chance for it to be copied onto the item. Although you can no longer enchant books yourself, if you enchant golden gear via the table, all enchantments applied, apart from those which only have one level, will gain a level, including into super territory, and the cost to enchant and repair gold gear is halved. Rather than 3 options being low, medium, and high, capping out at level 30, there will be 3 random combinations to choose from. The experience required will be the sum total of enchant costs, and the level and lapis costs will be 1/10 of that number. The icon in the left will in turn indicate whether the resulting item will be under half capacity, over half capacity, or over enchanted. As knowing what enchants you have around the E-table is rather important now, you can look at the books inside a chiseled bookshelf without needing to take it out and manually check. To reduce enchantment table re-rolling, using the grindstone to remove enchants will also remove part of its durability. But to make the XP system more engaging to use, you can now craft XP bottles to use on the go using Skulk, and when you die at, for example, 50 levels, you will drop 25 rather than just 7. One of the first things you will notice when using this mod is the stamina overlay. Although you might consider a new system, it is just a slight modification to the existing but hidden saturation system. Performing actions such as sprinting and jumping will drain it. The better the armor, the quicker it drains. Then standing still or walking will replenish it while draining your hunger every few bars of stamina you regain. Reaching 0 stamina prevents you from running, and being at full stamina will heal you, although healing drains stamina. Sneaking increases the speed at which you convert hunger into stamina, but costs twice as much hunger, but doing so while standing still also allows you to heal until you reach low stamina. All foods give both hunger and stamina. The more hunger it gives, the longer it takes to eat, and being hit resets that eating animation. Golden foods take the longest to eat, and bowl foods stack up to 16. Glistering melons are now edible and heal a heart upon consumption, and glowberries give you a temporary glowing effect. There is also a new food, the Echo Fruit, which teleports you back to your death location. To save your stamina, craft a saddle to ride on a horse or other mount instead, which can now walk through leaves, get into a boat, trot and gallop, be teleported via an ender pearl, and can now wear enchanted horse armor with any of the boot enchants like Frostwalker, except Unbreaking or Mending since it doesn't have durability. The better the armor, the less chance the horse has of buckling, which reaches 0 with netherite horse armor. When breeding a horse, the parents will take the potion effect they have the longest duration of, regen, swiftness or leaping, in order to give a slight buff to the baby's health, speed or jump height. Additionally, I've also made it so that mules now have less chest space than a donkey, but can now wear horse armor, so it is actually a mix of both. Zombie horses have a chance to spawn in zombie seizures. Riding one will make mobs less likely to see the player. I have also added copper rails which allow minecarts to have a higher max speed based on the oxidization, but they require an external energy source such as gravity or furnace minecarts, which I have buffed to reach those speeds. However, due to the recent experimental changes, I wanted to see where Mojang takes minecarts, so I have postponed working on them any further. The Elytra now takes 3/4 of a second of airtime or riptides to activate, and taking damage disables the Elytra for 2 seconds or until touching the ground. But now you can just hold space and it will automatically deploy when possible. If the player is touching water, rain or lava, the Elytra will deactivate and will not reopen until they are no longer doing so. Normal fireworks no longer boost the Elytra, but must be converted into dragon fireworks using dragon's breath or add a star into them, causing an explosion when used. To help you navigate through your world, you can now combine your maps together in one cohesive map book, which when held shows the closest map to your location, and when clicked, opens up a screen where you can see all the maps stitched together into one large map. It has most of the normal map functionality with regard to being cloned, able to add or remove banners, and able to see other players' locations who have the map book with the same ID in their inventory. You can automatically add new maps by trying to use the map book with paper in your inventory while in uncharted territory, or manually add existing maps by holding them in your offhand or the crafting table. It also supports maps of larger scale to cover more area in less detail, and treasure maps will add their icon to the map book also. It shows the coordinate of your mouse position, and you can add cursor vanishing to prevent other players from stealing it from your corpse. Due to the increased speed of minecarts and additional buff to horses, I have decided to slightly break my rule in one particular occasion and have packed and blue ice melt in the nether, effectively removing nether iceboat highways. Some I know were not like this, which is why I have added a game rule for this, but honestly answer me this: if packed and blue ice melted in the nether when they were originally added, would this have ever been a problem in the first place? In inventory news, since my first video, it has been so nice to see quite a few of my critiques surrounding the inventory being addressed by Mojang themselves, from adding space crafting and stack drop crafting to now fully implementing the bundle in the 1.21.2 bundles of bravery drop, where you can choose which item you want to pull out in addition to be able to color code them. I originally talked about adding a tool belt, but have now since cancelled that idea, as I have made the bundle hold up to 64 normal items, 32 throwables, but most importantly 4 unstackables for either a spare set of armor, backup tools, or other semi-used tools like the spyglass, as I believe this will suffice in carrying around all your bits and bobs. Upon death, items dropped on normal last 10 minutes, and on easy they don't despawn, and you can now use your 2x2 crafting grid as extra inventory space. For some of the other changes, such as hotbar scrolling, item scrolling, and shulker box tooltips, there are already existing mods that do these things better than I would be able to do myself, and will be linked in the description. To give item transportation a slight buff, llamas will now spawn in all savanna biomes, and their strength value has a better formula to determine how much bread llamas can hold, and they teleport back to a caravan if they get lost. As the combat snapshots were made before the existence of experimental features, it was not something that I could just enable. Instead, I have gone ahead and implemented some of the features myself I deemed more important, like the trident changes and eat cancelling mentioned earlier. Normal potions now stack up to 16, different weapons have different attack ranges, you can hit mobs through grass, and shields have no delay. However, something I did do differently for shield was make them drain your stamina when held up instead of capping the protection it gives. Totems now turn into a broken form upon use, requiring a nether star to be fixed, and the new echo totem teleports you to your respawn point upon use. As totems are now reusable, I felt it okay to make them slightly less renewable, So in addition to the recent changes that effectively killed raid farms, 2/3 of the evokers that used to spawn in them have been replaced with illusioners, who now cast a 15-second nausea spell when entering combat and shoot 4-second blindness arrows, and drop these new blindness arrows upon death. And for those who really want a challenge, there is a game mode you can enable for my initial idea of needing to actively hold it up for them to work. New weapons include the goat horn to set a target for your pet wolves to attack, and bricks which are now throwable and deal some damage upon contact, and both bricks and now tridents can be shot out of dispensers. When you respawn, depending on the difficulty, you will respawn on either full, half or on 3 bars of health and hunger. Hostile mobs spawned under the night sky will drop more XP on death, and those that spawn underground have a chance to spawn with a potion effect. The armor and weapons on mobs have become more randomized, including coming pre-trimmed, and their health and speed have a chance to be increased based on the difficulty. Zombie villagers will only spawn on the surface, endermen more common in deserts, and mobs will now leave boats when attacked. Phantoms have a smoother swoop, don't turn towards the player when travelling at high speeds, and deal no knockback to the player. You can prevent their spawning by being near a cat, and when morning comes, rather than burning up and dying, they dive into the ground and despawn. Rather than spawning after 3 nights of no sleep, they spawn if you have the new insomnia effect, which is given to you after 3 nights of no sleep. Killing phantoms has a chance to increase that level, and the higher the level, the more phantoms spawn. Once you do sleep, you gain a temporary health buff relative to the level of insomnia you had, or you can drink milk to remove the effect for another 3 nights. You can now eat a phantom membrane in order to force give yourself the insomnia effect if you so desire, especially if you wish to turn on the game rule that requires you to have insomnia to sleep in the first place. The Wither now moves slower towards the player and circles around them when close enough. At half health, they will cause an explosion and spawn 3 Wither skeletons, as the Wither will now speed up and phase through blocks as it comes down to the player's level, and the Wither will not be able to heal back into its first phase. Upon entering the end, you will see 4 end crystals around the exit portal, which begin to summon the dragon when approached. Once the dragon spawns and some real boss music starts, the dragon will shoot fireballs more commonly that have explosion damage and don't hurt the dragon itself. The dragon will now occasionally charge at the player, causing high knockback, and sometimes it will drop an endermite out of the sky, which if not killed before it reaches the ground, will attract nearby endermen, and those that hit it will turn an aggro onto the player. When perched, the dragon will face towards the player, and so not let the player under her anymore, and if the player is too far away, the dragon will shoot a fireball. To help keep track of the dragon, you can now use spectral arrows to give the dragon the glowing effect. However, now if you use the elytra, the dragon will actively chase you mid-flight. There will be a world border around the island until the dragon has been slain for the first time, and respawned dragons can't break blocks unless you summon the dragon while having Bad Omen, which will make the fight harder as the dragon will move faster, deal more damage, and have other modifications such as setting you on fire when breathed upon. But you can collect double the dragon's breath, get 3 times the XP on kill, and additional elytra and dragon's egg as a reward for winning. There are many other parts of this mod, including how villagers will now increase their prices if they have not gossiped with at least 2 other villagers or slept recently, and they will no longer sleep if they see more than 1 other villager. Villagers can now wear leather armor based on their level, changeable within their GUI. Buying or selling a lot of the same trade will cause its price to increase for a limited time. All diamond tool and weapon trades cost at least a diamond, and librarians only sell 3 enchanted books per restock, with a low-level biome enchant in the 2nd section, a random book in the 4th, and a high-level biome enchant in the 5th. Here is a list of what enchants go to which biome. Trading with a villager while riding a camel will have the villager take out the passenger seat until you trade with them again. Villagers always zombify, but now turn into a nitwit based on the difficulty. The wandering trader now only spawns on natural blocks like grass, and they buy and sell a larger variety of items, including a rare item of a mob head, music disc, trim, sherd, or a map to a unique biome. The iron golem spawning cooldown has been reduced to 20 seconds. However, now each iron golem requires a new hostile mob and the villagers to consume a piece of food for the spawn to be successful. Fishing now has a bait power ranging from no bait to fermented spider eyes to determine the quality of the loot, and there is now a medium loot table for items like ingots. The treasure loot table has been buffed with items like tridents and potions, including the luck potion, which also now affects chest and mob loot. The beacon effect provided is now based on what block the pyramid is made out of, which now includes lapis, copper, coal and ancient debris. Although you only need 3 layers now to unlock the second level, continuing to increase the size of the pyramid increases its range, and it also applies to pets and mounts. The way how to build a beacon is now shown in one of the woodland mansion rooms, conduits in underwater ruins, an iron golem at pillager outposts, and enchanting in the stronghold libraries. Redstone is better shown in the jungle temple and ancient city portal room, along with also containing the wither painting, and the igloo will always generate its basement, now indicated by a red carpet. And if you have the 1.21 experimental features enabled, the trial chambers will have a redstone door. Villages, ruined portal, and ocean structures generate less often, but strongholds can now generate infinitely. And you can now use Eyes of Ender to find end cities. The ocean is twice as steep, bringing down ocean monuments, but now they have 8 diamond blocks rather than gold blocks, and the elders have a chance to drop an enchanted golden apple. Amplified terrain can now sometimes generate in the world normally, and underground certain biomes have more of a particular ore, shown by having other unique identifiers, such as vines growing in caves below jungles and swamps to show where coal is more abundant. The comparator output of an inverted daylight detector now reads the phase of the moon, as the local difficulty increases with the less moon that is shown. If it is a full moon and you are on the surface, you have increased luck when fishing. Farming gets a buff in the first quarter, looting when it is a new moon, and fortune in the third quarter. Additionally, ores broken by an explosion have a chance to drop double. Husks drop sand while converting into a zombie, allies drop an echo shard and turn into a Vex when killed by a warden's sonic boom, and all the music discs are now renewable to a certain capacity. Armor stands can be given arms via sticks and removed with shears. Copper bulbs have a 1 game tick delay. Powering an amethyst block generates an artificial vibration based on the redstone signal strength, and many of the redstone components have gotten a texture tweak to better show what it is doing, in addition to the brewing stand UI from vanilla tweaks. The fletching table can be used more efficiently to craft arrows, including tipped arrows without the need for dragon's breath. Parrots are less likely to fall off and can be grabbed mid-air, and the render distance fog has been thickened, while the lava fog has been increased and can now be increased further with fire protection. All the advancements have been brought onto the same page, some have been added, others have been removed, and have buffed the XP reward of all advancements to incentivize a fun challenge for XP over standing mindlessly at a mob grinder. While I was at it, I also included a built-in resource pack for a dark UI and other tweaks that I personally like, and have added some of the suggestions from Cube fans to the list, such as Cube Fireworks, Bee Spreading Flowers, and the ability to throw lingering potions further. When I made the first video, I never expected anything to come of it, especially a mod. So although I have snuck in some of the things like retexturing the blue axolotl green, some of the ideas I gave, especially near the end, like adding an azalea wood type, I have not added to maintain the focus of this mod. And there are some other parts I have not added, like the difficulty or overhaul I mentioned in part 3, due to the size and complexity of a change like that. Some of the changes already exist as other mods, but I have made sure the more important changes, like villagers wearing armor, have made it into the base mod. There are some other changes I straight up cancelled because I did not like it or found a better approach. It has also been fun to watch developments around the new Pale Garden biome and how similar it looks to what I showcased in part 3 around the idea for an ominous biome, and just overall the other news since the release of my videos. As mentioned before, this mod is currently just for 1.20.4, as that was the latest version of the game when I started on the mod, and as such won't contain some of the features like the complete version of the tricky trials, wolf armor, completed bundles, and a few other bits and pieces. I will be updating this to 1.21 and will try to keep it up to date with new releases, but now need to start the full-time job of finding a full-time job, and with the little free time I have in between, well, I've just spent the last year trying to fix the game, I kinda wanna play it now. Besides, the ultimate goal of this mod is not to be something I sustain forever, but to show people, especially Mojang, the true potential Minecraft has, so that they might implement many of its features directly into the source code. Or better yet, hire me to also make sure that everything released in future updates can be held up to the same standard. But until then, go, download the mod, play Minecraft, open up a new server of friends, do whatever you want to do. Just have fun. It's about time you did.